My name is Ray Edwards, and I'm the co-owner of the 1909 T206 Honus Wagner Carbon Edwards car. Speaking for my cousin John, he obtained the car in the early 80s. He was an avid collector, and a friend of his knew a guy who bought estates, sales. He owned an antique shop, and he said, "Hey, I have a Honus Wagner car." So John purchased it for $1,800 through a mutual friend. And once he got it, a friend of his owned a jewelry store, and he called a gentleman in from New York and flew in, and he told John that it was a lithograph and so on and so forth, and he had something there, and he offered him $10,000. And John came back, thought about it the next day, came back the next day, and he said, "I'll take 20, and the gentleman said no 10. So that was in the early 80s. So John was the first owner of this car. I came into the picture. I first seen the car in the early 90s. I was sitting in my cousin's living room, and we was watching the David Copperfield show. David Copperfield, the musician, had Wayne Gretzky come on with the Wayne Gretzky Honus Wagner T206, and he tore it up, put it back together, and my cousin said, "I got that car." I didn't doubt him because I seen in his collection of a lot of older memorabilia, and I collect myself, but he had stuff that was older, post-World War I and II, and so on and so forth. He brought it to me, I looked at it, he put it up. And when we fast forwarded up to 2002, John brought it back up to me. That car I had back in the 90s, I need you to sell it for me because I worked the internet, I had an internet business going on. And that's when this whole thing started with the authenticity, so on and so forth. And I came into the picture. The purpose of this video is to get my side out. I've been featured on HBO with Brian Gumbel, Real Sports, and also ESPN, Outside the Line. And they did an excellent job, but there's more to the story. So I wanted to do a video to kind of give a person the journey of why this car is so controversial, and me and John's what you call perspective on this whole authenticity thing. People in the hobby and outside the hobby, these big companies just, they ran ads and so on and so forth, called themselves authenticators and this and that and graders, and people kind of ran with that. They kind of trusted in these companies, and basically as I got into this, I found that the companies weren't actually seeking out third-party experts to authenticate these items. And I feel that what we've done by authenticating, going to the #1 fiber guy in the world, one of the top printing consultants or expert in the world, one of the top appraisers in the country, one of the top grading houses in the North American region, which is in Canada, and some more forensic work done with a document examiner. It kind of shook the foundation of this hobby with the grading companies. Now they have to actually start showing proof to the customer of all of these documentation when they say they authenticated something, as we are showing proof with our car. Well, when I started pulling up people's background, I found out they were just like me. They would put that, I've collected cars for past 30 years and so on and so forth, and it stops there. And I say, wait a minute. I mean, I could make the same statement because I have been collecting for the past 30 years. But when you're trying to deal with this T206, this Honus Wagner, and the mystery behind why it's so rare, you have to start dabbing into the paper. There's only two ways you can authenticate a piece of paper that has print on it. You got to authenticate the paper first, then the print. And my expertise does not take me there as a hobbyist, and their expertise doesn't. But I find that, for instance, with the Wayne Gretzky card, PSA graded it. They said it was authentic, and that was it. But when you look at the grader who graded it, he's just a hobbyist. He don't have no third-party paperwork, so on and so forth. I think they're afraid. I think they, maybe they invested in something and they're afraid that, what they have may not be, once they start going through forensic testing on it, that it can be a lot of things that come up, a lot of lawsuits, a lot of this and that. I don't know. But these are the people that on a Saturday morning would take their kids to the art museum and look at a Picasso and a Rembrandt. And when they look at that Picasso, they say this is a 1500 Picasso or whatever. And for that painting to hang on that wall, the curator of the museum had to go through the same forensic testing that we had done on our card. They can look and say that's authentic, but when it comes to our card, it's like they just get done. They don't accept it. And this is across the line when it comes to authenticating anything that has a canvas, anything that's on canvas, be it baseball card or Picasso or Rembrandt. It's the same kind of science used across the board. We just embarked on just selling this baseball card, but we was forced to go, the first company that I reached out to was PSA, Joe Orlando. And I have here some emails. I have 11 emails, and these emails are dated back in July the 12th, 2002. The first person I reached out to was PSA. I sent them 11 emails, front and back of this card, with blown up images. I did my research online, found out that they was the premier grading house in the country and quote unquote an authority on this topic of the T206 Honus Wagner. Never did get a call back. Never get, it was red. So I was forced to go somewhere else. And then I went somewhere else, I was told that the car was counterfeit, so on and so forth, without no proof. There was a company in Detroit, Car Collector Services, that reason why I went to them is because when I tried to go to PSA and I called them up, they thing was they did not allow people to be present while they was authenticating the card. I didn't want to be present while they was grading it, but I wanted to be present while they was authenticating, because I knew that when you authenticate things, there's scrapes here, there's taking up fibers here and this and that, so on and so forth. So I wanted to make sure that our car was intact. They didn't allow that. I can appreciate that, but I couldn't go with that company. So I called up to a company in Detroit called Collector Services. This is back in 02, 03. And they would allow us to be present. We went up, the gentleman we talked to, we allowed him to scan the car, look at the car. He compared it to other T206s. And mind you, I knew that this car looked totally different from other T206s, okay? The front of it. It didn't have the pinstripe, and the lettering was different. But when I turned it over, it had the factory district number in the Piedmont with no reprint. So it was inconsistent, it was consistent. So that's what made me go and do some further investigation. The gentleman examined it in Detroit. His conclusion was that it was a counterfeit based upon a book that was authored by Bob Lamke. And it stated in that book, it made two references on this card. When it comes to the Honus Wagner card, not our card, but a Honus Wagner card, don't take what you read in this book, okay, as something that you would take as in authenticating. Go to the experts. And this is the Counterfeit Detectives book that's authored by Bob Lamke. He made reference to that book, The Gentleman at the Grading House. Also, he made reference to some other things that me and my cousin found that was just bogus. He made reference to, he put a letter L on the nose of our card. I've scanned this card and I've seen this card front and back from inch to inch and never seen the letter L on the nose. So as we was about to leave, this gentleman, he made reference to, like, I graded the card, you got to let me slab it. So he slabbed it as a counterfeit. And mind you, prior to this, there had been no authenticity of forensic work done on our card. So as me and John driving back, I popped the card, I looked at it under my magnifying, didn't see the L, I got frustrated with the grading industry, okay? And I popped the card out of the case and I started going to the art museum here in Cincinnati and started wanting to get some forensic work done on this card, okay? And that's what took us to all these forensic experts. I've been in meetings with guys that said that their car was fake for 4-hour, 3-hour, 2-hour meetings throughout the 10 years. At the end of the meeting, as we're leaving, they offered me $25,000. I've been offered $400,000 here. So people say I'm in for the money. If I was in for the money, me and my cousin would have took $25,000 and ran. Okay, the money is the issue. But what kept me going was that here it is, give us a fresh shake. We have done everything possible. Matter of fact, we went beyond the call of duty. All right, this is the only Hollins-Wagner T206 that comes with authenticity, forensic authenticity. The Wayne Gretzky car don't come with it. The other Sweet Caporales that's been graded by other companies, SGC and Beckett, don't come with this. This is the only car that comes with a reinsurance of forensic authenticity, okay? And the thing is, what's kept me going is I know we got something here. You know, that's a gentleman that runs a website, the T206 Museum. And back in '02, he had a message board. And on that message board, he said, this is how you authenticated a T206 card. No factory district number equals reprint. Our card on the back has the factory district number just like any other card. There's no reprint on there. So when I find out that our card has all these things, also our card has no titanium dioxide pigment. And you can go to Hollins-Wagner-auction.com for more reference on all the forensic documentations, be it the forensic documents, the document expert, also the grading house, ACA grading, to get all of this forensic work and expertise of these experts saying that this card it is what it is. So that's kept us going. I tried going to PSA, SGC, and I've tried other grading houses here in the United States. When Joe Orlando came out in '02 in the newspaper here locally, and made a comment on our card and made numerous comments on HBO, ESPN, and so on and so forth, that our card was fake, it blacklisted our card, okay? I've talked to Joe Orlando, I've talked to SGC, the grading, the owner up there, I've talked to Beckett, I talked to all of these guys. And basically they were saying that the card is fake without even examining the card, okay? One of the things that when I did talk to Mr. Orlando, he stated that reason why our car passed the test is because it was sandwiched. The back was real and the front was fake, so it was sandwiched. Well, we know that the printing expert that deals with bonded paper all the time noted he said it wasn't sandwiched. And so what happened was I said, bump the United States, you know, I got to get out of here. So I started doing my research in Canada. I knew Canada had a big following. They have a professional basketball team, professional baseball team, professional hockey teams. So I started doing my research up there. I came across ACA grading. I went to their website. I seen that he came across some T206 cars and someone purchased, I believe it was $10,000, and he gave them bad news, said the cars were not real. So I said, okay, this man must know something. So, I mean, this company must know something. And when I called up there, the owner, Martin, me and him talked. I sent him up information on the story, so on and so forth. He did his study and so on and so forth. But he did tell me this. He asked us to come up and bring the car with us and all the documentations and so on and so forth. But he told me this. He said, look, when you come up here, I'm going to do an extensive forensic test myself. Then I'm going to take it over to a document expert who has 16 years of experience, okay, who's recognized. If you pull her up, she's recognized all around the world. If you go to Canada, you would seek her out in that province. That's been a document examiner. She would do her own forensic test, and she would put it in a VS, I believe it's a VS40S machine that does a lot of different lighting and this and that and that and this, all the other stuff. And I said I had no problem with that because it's already been through forensic testing. So we went up. Like I said, Martin, he has over 20 years of experience. And he's the kind of guy that, you know, that doesn't just look at your card. He's going to do his own thorough investigation, which he did do. He allowed us to be present, okay? But he did not allow us to be present during the grading. And he made that understood before I came up there, okay? That we couldn't be present during the grading. So here we are. He did all his investigation, a 4-hour examination, 2 hours with the document examiner, 2 hours with him. He looked at the car. He measured the car as not being sandwiched, and you can get more of his information if you go to HannesWagnerAuction.com, and you can see more of this report. And in this report, like I said earlier, Joe Orlando and other people say this car was sandwiched. This car was measured with some kind of meter that measured the thickness, and we had a reprint Hannes Wagner. The Hannes Wagner reprint was at 15 points. Our car was at 11 points, 11.5. It's impossible to sandwich our car, okay? Our car is not sandwiched. It's the original back. It is an error Hannes Wagner card. Martin's conclusion was that it was an unreleased version. And I stated that back in '02 when I listed it on eBay as the first Hannes Wagner error card. The printing expert on his way. He can only tell me about the print. He can't tell me about the fibers. You know, he comes with over 40 years of experience in the printing industry, travels the world as a printing consultant. He can only tell me that. And like I said earlier, you can only authenticate a canvas with the fibers and the print, okay? And he done that. Then he went over to the Walter Ratterman, okay? Rattanen. And he can only, like he said in his report, he's not an expert in printing or this and that. He can only give me his expertise dealing with the fiber, and the fiber was consistent with anything under 1950 and 1920. He did the high and low UV light testing to check for fluorescence emitting from the paper, which paper back then it had a lot of fluorescence coming up out of it. Paper today has a lot of brightness coming up out of it when you put it under a black light. It passed that test, so it passed 2 tests. But the most important test was the EDS test. This test, you can go to HannesWagnerAuction.com and get more reference on this report. But this test is the most important test. Okay, as you can see, there's no titanium dioxide in this card. Any car produced before 1921 will have no titanium in it, okay? Anything after 1921 will have titanium oxide pigment, which is a brightener in paper, fiber, soft, stuff that cleans your clothes and so on and so forth. But our car, as you see on this scan here, this EDS scan, has no titanium in it. So our car, the fiber is consistent with everything up under 1921, okay? So these people are not they're not saying that it is a T206. What they're saying is, in their expert fields, that our car meets all standards and pass all standards, okay? Be it the printing, be it the fiber, be it the document examiner. Our car did not have, our car was missing, it's supposed to be a 4-color print job, okay? Our car is missing the 4th color. That's why you don't see the pinstripe around the card, and that's why Joe Orlando made a statement in the ESPN segment on this card that it's been washed out or something, okay? That's because he's not a printing expert. The printing expert said it, and the document examiner said it when she put it in the machine, that it's missing the 4th color, okay, which is black. And you can find more reference on this at HannesWagnerAuction.com under ACA grading, the document. To eventually sell it. As we started out in '02, I think it was just to sell the car. I hope that people can look past, if you call our car a fake, come with facts. You can attack me, you can attack my cousin, but let's not get off the subject. This is about the baseball card, T206, and we've brought everything to the table. We have not hidden anything. And I hope that with all of this 10 years of, and I don't regret it, because now that I look back, '02, I wasn't, all this stuff wasn't done. They didn't have the forensic documentation and so on and so forth, but it has that now. And a buyer can rest assured that everything has been done under the sun to ensure that this card is what it is. I have to make note too, these experts that I sought out are the top experts, especially Walter Ratner. He is an expert that, this gentleman authenticated the Hitler's diary that solved so many other cases for the FBI, the Unabomber case, the 2000 election down in Florida with the paper, he solved that, and so on and so forth. You can go to his website, IPS website, or go to my website and it'll reference you over there, link you over there, HonestWagnerAuction.com. And this is the top man in the world that a lot of the FBI, the CIA, and all them depend on to help solve their cases, and he helped solve this case. Well, it's been hosted by a third-party professional service, ManageMyAuction.com. It's authentic. It's been graded by ACA Grading as authentic. And also, there will be a public display of this card on the 18th. And also, we have an unveiling of a portrait that will be unveiled on the 18th by a gentleman that's been commissioned by the Top Grading Company, Tops Grading Company. So this right here it's going to be a blast. It's going to be something that we haven't seen in our 10 years of listing our card, and it's a blessing. And hope I see everybody on the 18th, and happy bidding. I think they will enjoy what we're about to present to the public. If you want more information, you can visit ManageMyAuction.com, or you can also go to HonestWagnerAuction.com. Both sites can link each other up, so you'll be able to go to my site, which would be HonestWagnerAuction.com, and also if you want to go to ManageMyAuction.com, there's a link on my site that takes you over to that.